Hey, good evening, everyone. This is Lowman02. I'm going to do a quick Commander series, actually, on a couple decks and matches between myself and players. Some pretty prolific 100-card singleton player, vintage player. I think another favorite of hers and mine as well is Vintage Cube. The first match I think we have here is Thraximundar on Mereen. So both pretty powerful commanders. I think Mereen is a great deck, and hopefully hopefully this will cooperate here. Let me shut off some other apps. Moto may not. Oh, there we go. So, and I hope, because I have not checked this replay, that it works. I say that because, so let's go over the keep. We mull down to 6. We keep a very, very slow hand. It has a little bit of disruption and spell pierce, which we're not happy to see because obviously we already know what our commander is at this point. The spell pierce against a Mereen deck is probably not good. It's probably a creature heavy deck, kind of like a Carador deck or something like that. Possibly better than Carador, except it obviously loses the white. Um, we're on a 4-land draw. This is a very artifact mana heavy deck. And really, the deck that I'm playing, if you haven't seen it in the previous video that had a little bit of commander content that I did the live recording on, this deck is essentially a control, or it's really a control deck that is pretty much solely based around winning with Thraximundar beats. Because Thraximundar himself is just a great control, and it really does it all. So, like, if you look at Thraximundar, I mean, in and of himself, he doesn't need a lot to go right to make him work. He's just a huge creature, and if you're playing creatures, he's just going to get bigger, and typically he kills your opponent in 3 turns. All right, so we'll play it out. I believe we're on the draw. She plays on the Bajuka Bog. We're just some banter. I kid with her and say, hey, I'm gonna be able to get my Yagul off now. Draw strip mine. I'm not interested in putting her back on mana right now. I want to make my draws. I see that I have Jace's Ingenuity. Or make my drops rather. Because I don't have the artifact mana. I know I'm gonna want to get up on mana. Get rebuild. Completely worthless card. I believe we cycle it off at her end step. You know, she's Wood Elves, so she's up significantly in mana on us. We see it's a DC, and we figure this is not good. We're probably looking at some horrendous necrotic ooze, combo style kill. You know, probably got a Buried Alive. I don't know her deck list. I would assume probably a Buried Alive to put like the combo. It's like Trike, the Phyrexian Dreadnought, plus the Necrotic Ooze in play out the Mereen, and yeah, play out the Mereen, and then the following turn she'll be able to cycle the Ooze back. And in the hopes that before that point in time she can get up before she can kill me on end step. So we see Sack Tribe Elder come in. We've got the Pact at this point in time, plus the Stifle. So Smothering A-Bomb's going to help her, Smothering A-Bomb's going to help her quite a bit as well. We draw with that. I think we end up Wixwaxing the board right now with Damnation. She draws some cards, gets some experience counters. She, at this point in time, has a lot of mana. She's going to be able to replay a lot of her stuff, but really what we're looking for Damnation to do is essentially bias tempo. I believe we end up playing out the Mox Diamond to keep up either Stifle or Spell Pierce. And we do Pact of Negation. And the following turn, Stifle our Pact of Negation trigger so that we can cast Thraximundar, killing her Carrion Feeder, and forcing her to play 2 creatures the following turn to enable the Mereen trigger. And this is going to put her on a significant clock. So now we also have Necropotence in hand, which, obviously, stellar draw. I mean, I can't complain about that draw whatsoever. But it's... Okay, so we end up losing the Thrax. I believe we Necro the following turn with a Forbidden Alchemy to find even more. I think, if I'm not mistaken, we do Forbidden Alchemy on our main just to make more room in the hand. But I could be wrong on that. We could just save it just to react to whatever she does. Because, I mean, like I said, we are definitely the control in this matchup. So we get really not a whole lot of good stuff. There's a Slaver there, which is going to come into play. This is a Slaver deck, so it has the Welder Slaver and the Academy Slaver kind of combo going on, which once you pretend mana, essentially just says the opponent will never take another turn. Which is really not hard for this deck. 10 mana is pretty realistic. You see, we got like cards like Mana Vault, the Moxen that are playable in Commander, etc. So her graveyard is still not that scary. I mean, yeah, Living Death could be very bad for us, but we're feeling okay about this. I mean, yeah, we're low on life, sure, we're at 18 life, but I mean, it's Commander. I'm not really ultra worried about my life total, and really, when I'm playing a deck like this, the way I kind of tend to look at it is my life total is irrelevant until it is none. She sees a slaver come out, knows this game is over, based upon her holdings, I suppose, and our ability upon the turn back of the, or the following turn cycle, being able to cast Thraximundar to essentially keep her, under enough pressure to lose or that she can't win. With the 4 remaining floating mana, she knows this thing's going to go to face, and that's the game. That's all she's got. All right, so next match in this game. And for some reason, I don't know why, Wizards of the Coast has still not fixed the timeout policy for Commander. Maybe they finally got wise that Commander is like the Crybaby's format of choice. And it's like the cry room for Commander. I don't know. It's been busted forever, though. I don't know why. So we waited out. We ended up playing our second game. CSA Wayfinder, Wasteland. I'm sure she's a little bit upset to see our 2 fetch lands. She's building up her graveyard like this deck is want to do. We see survival and we say, no, we're not doing that. Survival in this sort of deck, this style of deck, this aristocrat deck, is a no-go. We will lose horrendously if we allow it to resolve. See Mereen come down. We're figuring she's getting back the mana source out of Wood Elves. Play out the Karn, kill the Marines. We don't want her getting value off of it. She plays out the Wood Elves to ramp herself up. She'll require 1 more to get us after this. She ends up taking Bribery with that, which I'm like, what do you have in your deck? I don't really fathom that she has a lot that's great in her deck, but I can assume that she probably doesn't want us to find her win con, which I think generally in these decks, if they're pretty good, is Necrotic Ooze. We take the land, suspend the visions. We're fine going down to 1 card because we essentially have everything in our graveyard at this point. Plus, we have an active Karn. We get back our Bribery as well. She gets a Dryad Arbor, so she's not finding what she needs at this point. The Ancestral Visions is never coming off. That's gone. Now, we have some banter right here. The right play at this point is to go for the Yogg-Will as opposed to the Bribery. I just say I want to see her deck, and that's really it. I mean, I guess it makes up the right play. We're in a second game, so I think I'm winning if I cast Yogg-Will, so I don't really need to see it, but I'm just curious. I kind of want to see it. Aristocrat decks are really pretty cool to me. At that point, with a Karn on 8, I told her, when we were talking, hey, I got Yogg-Will, can you stop it? And she said no, and I'm like, okay, well, I promise you I have Yogg-Will. That's going to be game because I have essentially infinite mana. I've got a Karn on 8. I can Bribery again if I want, but her creatures really aren't good in and of themselves. They're very high synergy creatures, very specific. But the ability to recast a Jace the Mind Sculptor, Forbidden Alchemy, Gamble, I suppose. But on a Yogg-Will, it's not a very good card unless you get very lucky. And that card habitually for me always puts my Mana Crypt in the graveyard. But really why it's in here, I guess just to go on a minor, offshoot. Gamble's an odd card. If you're not familiar with the card, essentially I'll pull up its text right here. Search your library for a card, put that card in your hand, then discard a card at random, then shuffle your library. I don't tend to try to find Soul Rings or Mana Crypts with it. Maybe if I really need the mana and I have it's a beginning hand or it's a starting hand and I know I'm going to draw and I'll have 6 at the time of playing as opposed to possibly 5. But it's not its strongest there. This is obviously it's a Yogg-Will deck. This is a Mystical Teachings deck, and this is a Recoup deck. So it plays all of those. Plus, I think it has the Wish package at this point in time, or the Gifts Ungiven package at this point in time. So you can use it to put things. You can use it to find things. You can use it when it's a top deck and you're on 0 cards. To find things that are valid or viable that you want to go to your graveyard, and you'll generally accrue a larger flashback cost for it to cast, spells inside your graveyard. That's why it's there. It's a good card in this deck. Okay, so moving on, the next game we play, that's more of a control deck that I was playing there. This next one is more of a prison style deck. This is Oloro, and we're again playing against Mereen with Oloro. These are 2 of the stronger decks I've made in this format. They're both pretty disgusting decks. If you're not familiar with Oloro, you probably haven't played Commander before, but Oloro is probably banned in many different circles because he gains you 2 life every turn. If he's in play, you can tap 1 mana. Once you gain life, once you draw a card. Is it draw a card or gain life? Let me double check. Okay, whenever you gain life, you may pay 1. You draw a card, and then each player loses a life. Is how it works. So it's good in this deck, and it's good really in this format because it stops so many things very well. And the color combo is pretty busted. We've seen Necrotic Ooze come out. I think actually we misplay this turn. I think the right idea is to leave the Necro Ooze in play and the Viscera Seer. I think we wait until Mereen comes out. You know, and I could be wrong there. I mean, it ends up not being relevant, but I think as far as, you know, accruing value lost down the road, we definitely do with that. You know, I'm fine to see her hit while I lost her. I still have a Ristic Study, and this thing is just drawing me cards. It's not drawing me a lot of good cards, albeit, but it's drawing me a lot. And I believe this next turn we go Treasure Cruise to hunt for the good stuff, if you will. Yeah. So we cast on our T Cruise, play out the vaults, and what we're planning on doing is taking whatever beating she has coming for us this turn, and likely one next turn, in order to. What does she take here? She takes the Tez. I think she's wrong there. I think she has to take the Cyclonic Rift. So, Sung, I think you have to take the Cyclonic Rift. I know you don't value that card like I do, or maybe you do in this format, and it's just you grab the wrong card. So, what my plan is here is just to take this beating, go down to whatever I go down to, you know, let her play whatever she wants to play, and she ends up sacking it, which I'm kind of shocked by. Oh, she plans on grabbing it back up at end step, is what it is. She plays the Visionary, yada yada. You know, and at this point, she can pretty much play around her Ristic Study. Once she gets it back, Grim Harris move. So I mean, she's got some cards at this point that like can definitely combo out in the Kratz format. So what we end up doing is we Psych Rift. Because of the way Brain Maggot is written, this is not going to do anything. If it was Mesmeric Fiend, it would. And she knows at this point the game's over. And the reason being, guys, is because we're actually talking through like how Tezzeret's going to win me the game, you know, simultaneous to the gameplay itself. And I tell her, hey, like, you know, you've seen my hand already. I've drawn a Trink Mage. The Trink Mage is going to come out, likely get Mana Crypt. Mana Crypt. And we're going to cast the Tezzeret. And after we cast the Tezzeret, we're going to search for 2 and put Winter Orb in play. And, you know, with Tezzeret after that point, we're going to find 0 mana artifacts. We're going to continue to draw. We have plenty of lands left. We have a Crucible of Worlds that can, you know, continue to get lands out of the graveyard and thin the deck out of them more so. And with Winter Orb, we just intend on winning because it's going to take her forever to get her board built back up. And once she does, you know, we're going to have found a Wrath. Like, we will have found a Wrath. This deck plays a ton of artifact mana, much like the Thraximundar build. But its general basis is more so as a sweeper deck. So, you know, it runs like, I want to say like 5 or 6 Wrath effects. You know, and it also plays, you know, trying to think. So it's like 5 or 6 Wrath effects. Generally the most efficient ones. So you have like Wrath of God, Damnation, Supreme Verdict, Toxic Deluge. Actually, it may run 6. So and then Hallowed Burial and Terminus are the Wraths that this deck runs. And I think Terminus is definitely defensible. I think that Miracle is definitely defensible. But the deck itself is really a prison deck, so it runs those. But the funny thing is, this is one of the few decks that runs those cards specifically, but also runs the Armageddon package. It runs an Armageddon Ravages of War Winter Orb package. And it's really because of the busted artifact mana available in this format. That's really the only thing that enables me to be able to do that with a deck like this. And really the existence of a Crucible of Worlds. I think it's very rare that you see any sort of control deck play both the Geddons and the Wrath effects. Because of the existence of Crucible and, you know, because of, you know, a lot of the redundant effects that we have to utilize Geddon effects and still maintain mana parity with what our spells require to cast, this really ends up being more of a prison-style build. And it's pretty powerful. It's definitely not even remotely as fast as Thraximundar. Actually, it's pretty hilarious how the deck wins. I believe it has a couple ways. I mean, it can Karn Ultimate, it can Jace Ultimate. I guess you could beat them to death with a Celestial Colonnade or like a Trinket Mage. I think there's only like 3 creatures in the deck, though, Trinket being one of them. But really how it intends to win is to, you know, get something like a Zurin Orb in play, gain a whole boatload of life, obviously draw cards off of it with cards like whatever the artifact that she destroyed was, the 4 mana thing that draws you cards every time you gain life. Necropotence, you name it. So there's a lot of ways to draw cards. Like you can draw this deck very easily. And then you end up playing on a Zern Orb, sacking infinite lands, getting above 50 life, and playing out the silly hallowed whatever it is, 4/6 vigilance lifelink beast thing that wins for you when you're over 40 life or 40 or more life, and or the enchantment, the 4 mana enchantment, Test of Endurance, or as I like to call it, 2 wrestling pink men, that wins you upon upkeep the game if you have 50 or more life. So that's how the deck wins. And honestly, like, I'm sorry, like, it's a little more like my trolling side. Like, I just think, Test of Endurance is a hilarious card. This deck could win through a lot of different means. If I were to be, if I were to be a little more serious about a win con in it, I'd probably utilize Planeswalkers to do it because of the prison style build, um, and the sweepers that are existing in it. But Test of Endurance is just hilarious to me. They just winning by that card is funny. And really, this deck doesn't care how it wins. It cares how it stops others from not winning, and then just grinds until it gets to that point. And those two cards are kind of good in that regard because they don't really require a whole lot of other outside setup to make that happen in a deck that runs a commander that gains you 2 life a turn. So that's kind of where it's going with that. I mean, maybe you've seen it before, probably. Game 2. All right, so not a stellar first hand, so like I'm kind of bummed. So I would like to see more lands for the Thirst for Knowledge. We end up playing out our Vault of Whispers, getting rid of our land that'll never tap for mana, and suspending Ancestral Visions. We see turn 2 Wood Elves, followed by another land drop. A lot of mana in play for the opponent. She has 5 lands. We end up seeing us at DC. Now, we go ahead and Thirst for Knowledge here to see if we can counter this. We can't. We're unfortunate. I mean, we're upset not to have hit more artifacts, but I mean, we've played all of our artifacts now. What can we say? We drop a land, and the Terminus at that point in time, figure we can just find another sweeper at some point. Go for the Treasure Cruise here. Draw a couple more lands plus Cyclonic Rift and Sensei's Dividing Top. See her play on her Mereen at this point, plus a Skull Clamp, which is a scary card in her deck specifically. So we continue to gain our life. We pass it back. We don't play the Signet out because we want to keep up Mana Confluence. But the idea here is we'll just bounce her Elvish Mystic, I believe, and her Mereen, so she doesn't get value off Mereen. And we also draw a card, which in this case is Mana Drain. So she buries alive to get the combo online for Necrotic Ooze, which is very frightening. She can't obviously play on Mereen again because she's done that, and she clamps her Elvish Mystic, putting her down to mana. We kind of do this to gain tempo. It's really a pure tempo play. Because we know our Ancestral Vision is going to come off the following turn. So it's tempo converting into investment. If you read the kind of heady, academic discussion, or possibly semi-academic, maybe it's just nonsense discussion that I put up on tempo, value, and the exchange rate between the two. We Psych Rift her 1 guy, so we don't want her to do Evolutionary Leap off a Skull Clamp on the following turn. We don't think it's going to be a relevant card. Play out the Tez, Winter Orb, game. I think she plays it out for a bit, but there's not much she's going to do here. Yeah, even with the Nile Spellbomb, like that means she's going to have to kill me with beats at this point because we're gonna know down her graveyard here. I'm guessing she's not running counter magic. This deck, as opposed to like the Thraximundar deck, actually does gain a lot of life. So like Necropotence is just, Necropotence is good regardless in Commander of where you see it play or where you play it, but as long as you can play it. But in a deck like this, it shines because you just gain so much life over a game that you don't really have to worry about missing a draw step. You don't have to worry about getting Necro locked in this deck. You're always going to be able to draw 1 or 2 at least, I think she finally packs it in here. We're laughing. Like, she's like, you could have just killed me with your artifacts. I'm like, yeah, I know, but I want to kill you with Test. That's how the deck's supposed to win, So I sack all my lands off, because frankly, they're kind of irrelevant anyways. And that Test does what it does, and we win. So I guess you could add a Lightning Bolt, but, we got to Force of Will in hand. We'll be all right. All right, so that's game. We play 1 more, and this is a deck. This next deck is a deck I don't actually like. It's a very powerful deck. But we're playing Narset, Enlightened Master, and I think this time she's on Tasigur, which is something I did not want to see. If she's on Mereen, like I feel pretty comfortable with this matchup. I think Narset's pretty favored. Anything that has counterspells, hand disruption, etc. is going to just batter this deck. Plus, speed off of green. I'm just going to batter the crap out of the Narset because Narset, I guess it depends on your build, but if you build a high counterspell Narset, I don't think it's going to be good. Narset does not lend itself to beating control because, in order to make Narset a playable card or, a great card as your commander, you need to run a lot of nonsense like Savage Beating. One thing you'll note, we haven't played on a Grim Monolith. Sorry not to note this before. She casted Duress Team 1 against us. Something happened with the UI for her, or she misclicked. I don't know. I don't really know what happened with it. But I told her it was in my hand because she missed it, and she just randomly took Seize the Day. And I told her, hey, you want to take my Grim Monolith? Here's my hand is. And she said, yeah, you're right. I want to take your Grim Monolith. So I didn't play my Grim Monolith out the whole game because it's just, I don't know. For me, it's kind of petty to play out, a card that if someone had a legitimate issue, and I do trust that Stsung is a good player, I would have taken the Monolith. And if she didn't, it would have been a misclick, and I'm not going to win on that, So I don't play the Monolith, although it would be very helpful right here. We misdirect this. That doesn't work. We top, pretty much pretending we can find something because we can't. Well, I guess we can find our own Force of Will, and we may run a Mana Drain in this deck for tempo. Outside of that, it's not a counterspell deck, even though it is in counterspell colors. I feel like this is like a classic like mono blue on mono green matchup. Do I get it this time? And as you'll see, like counter magic just wrecks this deck. This is a very powerful deck, like I said. It does a very busted thing. Once Narset's in play, like this game's over. I mean, if I can swing with Narset, the game's over. I never get to swing with her. I mean, if I ever do, it's probably GG. Because this deck is all time walks essentially, whether that's fomenting multiple attack steps, one or two extra attack steps, or actual factual time walk effects. That's what the deck does, and I think a lot of people hate this deck. I don't think it's good. Like I'm saying right here, I don't think it's that great. I think it's good against decks that are not prepared to interact with what other people are doing. We get battered. I pack it in here. I think I died a Commander beats this turn or something too. It's just it's pretty silly. We're down to 0 cards. We've been trying as hard as we could. All right, game 2. Yeah, so interesting key. Weather Wayfarer. I know I talk this card up all the time. It's not bad in this deck either. I think, if I recall correctly, we do get to Weather Wayfarer. I think we screw up though. Yeah, let me point out we screw up. So we draw our land, we pass it back. We want her to make another land drop. She luckily doesn't, kill this thing. Pass it back again. We're just waiting because we want to get our blue fix. She drops the land. We see a Tasigur come down. Cool. Now, here's where we screw up. What we should have done is not played the island down here. We should have... Well, we could have played the island out. What we should have done is search for a land first. I don't know why we didn't do that. I think because we were writing an article, or writing the post that we had on tempo investment. We're kind of playing like crap by this point. Not to go see that come up again in a later match, but we should have done that because we could have gotten Cavernous Souls and played that out the turn we intended on casting Narset in order to resolve it. As we can see, I mean, it may or may not have mattered regardless, because demonic tutor for the diabolic edict. I assume she went for the edict. And it's really like that effect, or Liliana is what you need at that point to get around Narset. Yeah, we're dead. We're dead, and we know it. We play it out for a little bit just because, we want to be good sports, let her play around with her deck. We got a Sunder. I think we tried a Sunder on end step just to, put the game back. But really, I think if she even lets this happen, she's going to beat us to death with her Commander. There's not much this deck can do. It doesn't have... This deck does nothing without its Commander, I guess is what it is at the end of the day. It's a very all-in deck. It's like, how does Storm pre-board beat, a meddling mage that says Tendrils of Agony? I don't know. Do you have a Blightsteel in there? That's kind of where it gets down to. I just can't do it. It's not going to get there. And, yeah, this is a test of endurance for us, no pun intended, based on the last game. Not really. I mean, we're pretty good sports about this. I mean, honestly, we know what our deck is doing, and what she's doing, honestly, is probably infinitely more fair than if we get to do what we intend to do with our deck. So, yep, we're dead. All right, we're going to cut this one here. So if you enjoy watching Commander matches, you can go ahead and watch this one. In the remainder of them, I'll jump into a couple of 100-card singleton matches that I've had in the recent past. So I hope you enjoyed this quick series of Commander play. And if you enjoyed it and you are interested in any of the decks that we're running here, I'm sure you can find any of them. They're all pretty common commanders, and you can probably find better builds than either of us are running. Although I will say that I think my Oloro and my Thraximundar builds are very strong. Um, I don't personally recommend Narset, but if that's something that lends to your play style, like an all-in strategy, sure, go ahead. It's a very good deck list. I think it is very good at doing what it's intended to do. Um, if the player is able to put it outside of that, you're not going to win. So, it's not a deck that I personally prefer to play, but I just grabbed it because it is a powerful deck, and I thought it'd just be, I haven't spun this deck in a while. I actually don't play a lot of Commander anymore. I do every once in a while, but it's not as common as it used to be. So I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll be doing another one here on a short turn on some 100-card singleton games. All right, take care.